Where you have the Philip Lynch Theater, as you go off the lobby, you can go through a hallway into a gallery area. The Studio Lab Theater was up those stairs.
It was a single, long, narrow classroom, and that just wasn't enough. So then they took over a science lab and made kind of a T. There was the square classroom, and then the T became the backstage, and that became studio theater.
Seats were up on a diagonal, and then the stage was to your left, and it was only somewhere between 25 and 40 inches tall. And it was, I would say, the first row seats couldn't have been more than 10 feet away from the floor of the stage. As you went up the slant where the audience sat, to the right, in the right corner, there was a little boxed-in area, and that's where the light technician worked and could talk to the director during the production.
I think we seated about 150 maybe not quite that many, but it was a low ceiling, probably a 10-foot ceiling, which for theater is not very good.
Ladies and gentlemen, from all over town, we're about to get started, so please settle down. The exits are marked, but there's a couple things more. Please silence those cell phones and leave your cigs at the door. And now that's out of the way, let's jump right in. When talking about the Philip Lynch Theater, well, everyone wins. Now, in regards to the Philip Lynch Theater, there's a story to be told, so sit back, relax, and wait for the story to unfold. And from its humble beginnings of a studio, lab, and a tent, well, there came a great story of one dedicated gent. And we've got stories from the past and some information to bestow. You're bound to learn something that you once did not know. So come on this journey with us. Dim the lights down real low. It's a beautiful history, so let's get on with the show. As more people came aboard, Chet Kondratowicz's idea of a more unconventional theater, to be called the Tangerine Tent, would go from just a slab of concrete 6 miles down the road from campus and become the next stepping stone towards the making of the Philip Lynch Theater.
We did 4 a summer. Each one would run 2 weeks, so it was about an 8-week season. So there was always one playing and 1 or 2 being rehearsed. And then one would close on Sunday, and that night we would take down the set, put up a new one, and the next show would open the following week. So there were no dark weekends. It was slow in the beginning for the adult shows, but the kids shows picked up quickly. Schools and park districts are looking for places to go during the summer, so they were happy to have a place to go. It was inexpensive.
As the summer months ended, however, the tent was faced with obstacles like lack of air conditioning, weather, and then the all-around need for something more permanent for its actors and workers.
It had several rips in it from storms. Really, I mean, sometimes the sides would be blown out. Mosquitoes, we would fog the area before the audience came. And then we had cans of off. We'd say, would you like to be sprayed? And then we would spray them. Mice would run through the feet of the audience. It was primitive. On a beautiful evening, you would say, what genius thought of this? Well, how nice, the full moon, breeze coming through, comfortable, good show. When the weather was crummy, it was what idiot thought of it. So it had both sides. It lasted for 4 years. It wore out, we wore out. It really was a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Tangerine Tent closed in 1974 after a 4-year run. With the tent worn out and Mr. Kondratowicz and his crew in the same condition, a wonderful opportunity presented itself to the theater department in 1975 that would make Lewis University history. The old airplane hangar was being vacated as the construction on the new one had begun. Studio theater was in the same building as the old hangar, and while the university had a few ideas for what to do with the space, Chet Kondratowicz had a little idea of his own.
We were in the same building except in the studio theater upstairs. And here was this space that was about to be vacated, and nobody knew what was going to happen with it. I mean, you heard all these rumors about, it was Blanc Aviation. Kept pushing people, asking questions, and they kind of began to listen. And then we heard that they were going to turn it over to physical plant, to maintenance, park maintenance vehicles. By that time, we had come up with a design and had built a model. And we went into the meeting where they were going to announce that it was going to maintenance, and we said, but look what it could be. And then it took a little more time, and we started out with $100,000. They got 4 donors.
Mr. Kondratowicz had fought for the space and won. Construction on the Philip Lynch began as soon as the building was acquired, with faculty, staff, and students all working together to turn the hangar into a theater.
We had to get an architect to do the drawings, but the design was all ours. We had taken plaster off walls, like in the lobby, that was all covered over.
Sanding the seating risers with the big sanding machine, you know. If you look at it, there's quite a few gouges in the wood, because it was all the work that's done by students. So.
While students and faculty and staff worked tirelessly on completing the renovations of the building, a name had still not been chosen for the theater. It was no surprise that it would be named after one of the most beloved teachers at Lewis University, who passed away right before the theater's inaugural season.
And, you know, we didn't know what we were going to call the theater. We had a box, you know, with suggestions about what to call the theater. I think one of the big suggestions was the Beacon Theater. But then, unfortunately, summer of '75, Brother Philip passed away. And I thought, well, that's so appropriate to name it after him. Brother Philip Lynch was a great teacher in this theater speech department, and he was a great man. He was this Irishman. He had shockingly white hair and beautiful voice, because he taught. He did a lot with speech. Had this beautiful voice, and the girls would sit in class and just swoon listening to his voice. And I saw him perform. He played the Shakespearean actor in the Tangerine Tent in Fantastics. Yeah, great man.
A name was chosen, the construction was complete, and on February 19th, 1976, the Philip Lynch Theater put on its first play, a commedia dell'arte called Scapino. Following the success of Scapino and the other performances of the first season, the Philip Lynch Theater took off and never looked back.
I was here the first year it was built and, you know, putting productions on. The shows that we did there really helped give you confidence as a student, as an actor, moving on forward in your life after Lewis, if you want to continue to be an actor or even a director.
Audiences keep coming to the Philip Lynch Theater not only because of the quality of its excellent shows, but because of the theater itself. When Mr. Kondratowicz designed the stage for the theater, he modeled it after the famous Guthrie Theater stage, the thrust stage, a feature among many that makes the Philip Lynch Theater as intimate as it can be and enables creativity for actors and directors alike.